Good evening, everybody, and welcome to ILR2 on the Esports platform for Season 6. And it's round 7 of the season at the Canadian Grand Prix. Joining me tonight, as always, is F1 Maestro or James. How are you doing, James?
Hey everyone, well, once again, and looking forward to, hopefully be another interesting race after a race which definitely did not disappoint last week at Monaco. It's now 6 winners from 6 after Danny took the win last time out at Monaco, and we'll be wondering if there'll be a 7th here around Canada. A very good track, one of my favourites actually, so hopefully it can produce a good race for us this evening.
Definitely, yeah. And Monaco, as you mentioned, was a surprise last week. So we didn't expect to have a good race there, but we had very mixed conditions, wet weather, and it did spice things up incredibly. It dried out towards the end, and it made for some very good, interesting strategy throughout the whole field. And Danny M7 won last week, took a very good win. But race was an absolute cracker, and I thoroughly enjoyed commentating over that. And Monaco can spring up those good races when it is wet, and that's when, for us as commentators, it's the most exciting to watch, and I guess for the drivers as well, it's probably the hardest conditions for them to race in around there. So that was a really good race. But as you said, we're on round 7, and we've had 6 different winners so far. And the big question is, can we make it 7 out of 7? And I've got a slight feeling that there's a good chance of that happening, really, because Canada, one of those circuits where if you make a mistake and you hit the wall of champions, for example, that's it, your race is over pretty much. So, and the way the contact model is on this game, I do expect to see a fair few crashes and people taking liberties with the barriers, particularly on the exit of the World Champions. And I do also expect to see lots of penalties tonight. Am I right, James?
Yeah, one of the hardest tracks on the calendar for corner cuts, I'd say, along with Mexico, USA and Abu Dhabi, in terms of where you're going to be picking up lots of penalties. So if you keep it clean, you might not necessarily have to win on track to take the victory here in terms of when penalties are applied. But yeah, with all the chicanes, it's very easy to make a small misjudgment, and that will get you hit with a warning. But what I am aware of is the fact that this race should be a cracker, because apparently there's an element of strategy, as I've got the no sound glitch again, because the game is really good. I believe soft hard is viable, but very on the limit. There's also medium hard, and then because of the short pit lane around Canada, the 2-stop of soft, medium, medium is also a possibility. So we could see a split with tyres in qualifying, and then a split with strategy in the race. So hopefully we'll have lots of battling, and we'll see who makes the most of the opportunities this week. Maybe we could see someone like Jork, notorious for his good tyre wear, going for the 1-stop on the soft to hard, whereas Overkills or some of the other championship contenders may go more aggressive, as I think Smasher is the first person out on track. No, he's just been overtaken by Mulder coming into the hairpin. Mulder is on the softs, and we'll be seeing if he's going all out for a lap early in the session. I'd imagine he would be. If he wasn't going to use the softs, he'd probably go out on a sighter on the hard. So obviously qualifying on softs maybe for Mulder, but we don't know what strategy that means. Will he risk it for the 1-stop, or will he play it safe and be able to drive more quickly with the 2-stop as he starts his lap now? Going down into turn 1, down into 3rd gear, clips the apex nicely but doesn't cut it, down into 1st for turn 2. He had to take quite a tight line through there on the power early, no wheel spin really, and he heads down to the tricky turn 3 and 4 chicane. He's just about nailed that, maybe a bit wide on the exit, as there's a yellow flag next through, probably just cars backing up as he comes down towards the end of sector 1, and 19.2, I think that's reasonably good on the power, nice and early through that right-hander, and now on the pretty pointless DRS zone as we head down to the final chicane in the middle sector. Easy to cut and extend here. Mulder doesn't do that, just within the white lines there, and he gets a reasonably good exit using all the track up to the wall as we now head to probably the heaviest braking zone on the track, the hairpin. He'll probably use first to get the car rotated. He does short shift to second on the exit, and then 3rd and 4th as you have a pretty long DRS straight here before the final chicane. This is probably where we'll see most of the overtaking in the race, but you have to get the move done early due to the nature of the final chicane. He'll have to be very aggressive. He's gone full commit there, slight cut on the inside, not as fast as I thought he might go through the chicane, and it's going to be the first time on the board of 108.4, and I don't think that's massively quick, but start of the session, it's his first lap, so he'll probably be happy with that. He's got a lap in early, didn't invalidate it, and that's a good start from his. Mike goes for a 9.1 GS1 Ninja with an 8.7 as more time starts to come in as BR Hamilton has disconnected. And due to how this game works, he may struggle to get back in, which is rather unfortunate for him.
Yeah, not bad lap to start things off from Mulder. He's laid down the banker and got an lap in early. And Smaz is up there at the moment in the racing point. Let's see where he can go on the board. Across the line is an 8.5, so that's roughly where Mulder is and thereabouts. Danny as well, as we were talking, did an 8.6, so pretty tight at the top so far in the early stages of qualifying, so not too bad. But yeah, I think this is going to be interesting with strategy in the race, and particularly what people decide to do in qualifying on their strategy too. We could see people outside the top, sort of outside the top 10, probably do something probably more risky. I'd say it's probably worth it for them, or they could go more conservative and start on the medium, because the thing that they're going to have is they start on that medium tyre, they can go a lot deeper into the race and have fresher tyres towards the end. So that could play into their hands. And also, whilst on the medium tyre, as the soft tyre degrades, they're going to be faster towards the later point of the soft stint. So they'll be a lot faster at that point. So we'll see how that all plays out, I think. And it's going to be an interesting race with different splits of strategies. And it makes it more exciting. And people who generally want to take risks can actually go with a more aggressive strategy or a more conservative strategy, depending on what they want. So I think we're in for a bit of an interesting race here, definitely. And I can do as well. I think one other thing to mention is the potential of tow and the slipstream. If you do catch tow on the lap, I do expect that would gain you a little bit of time. But obviously, you've got to catch it at the right time, because you don't really want to be getting too much of that sort of dirty air if you get too close to the car in front. So I think also, if people can catch the tow on their qualifying lap at the right point, it might also help them as well, and gain a bit more time than they would need. So I think we'll see how things all plan out, really. I think this is going to be interesting. Everyone's set their sort of main banker laps, but times at the moment, people are starting to come back in the pit lane again and probably switch onto another set of tyres and they'll go again.
Yeah, I'm on board with Aaron Dassler. It's not been a very good lap. Dassler, you probably might be saying, a pretty disappointing start from the season. I know how quick he is, and he's not really been able to demonstrate that so far. This hasn't been a good lap to start the session, but maybe just warming himself up for something else. What I would mention, based on your point and starting outside the top 10, I think if you start outside the top 10, there's no point going for the 2-stop, just because of the sheer amount of traffic that you'd have to get through at the start to make it work. I don't think it's worth it. So maybe you'd stretch soft to hard, as Aaron does actually hits the wall of champions there. This hasn't been a good lap at all. It's going to be 109.1, not terrible, but the second to last soft runner with only Blumston behind him. But yeah, I'd say if you're outside the top 10, go for the mediums and do medium hard, or maybe if you're wanting to risk it, go for the softs and stretch it for soft hard. Yeah, everyone coming back out on another set of softs. Soft seems to be the main order of the day. Mr. Pigeon Munch, John MH and Mexi Fair, the only people who have gone for the hards, but John MH now puts on a set of softs, so he'll probably be going for that as well. Yeah, as you mentioned, 6 different winners so far, and we were here 2 seasons ago as well. It was a wet race back then. We obviously don't know what the weather will be for this one. Could see some rain again. We'd had 6 different winners in the first 6 races, and fortunately, I won the race 2 seasons ago and became the first repeat winner of season 4. One of my better drives, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about whoever's on a lap now. I think it's going to be Mulder again, the first person to start a lap with Smasher. Is he on a time
at the moment?
Yeah,
he's not a time lap. He's really. We'll see how he goes. He's down there in the order.
Yeah, hasn't got a lap in yet. Comes towards the final chicane. How aggressive will he be? Reasonably aggressive, but also very clean, just maybe wanting to get a banker in. This looks like it could be a reasonable time, a 9.0, and that puts him in 6th, just a 2,000ths quicker than Jork, as he's run deep into turn 1, so that's that run over. I think we'll go back to Mulder, currently the fastest man on the track, as he's coming towards the end of sector 1. I didn't quite catch the sector. Oh no, he's backed out. Never mind.
Yeah,
Danny is
the guys on it
up through the second sector, so sorry to cut over you, but I think you should get on board with Danny as he heads down towards the final chicane now. as he throw the car in reasonably. Ginger Ninja puts it fastest with an 8.4. That is a surprise, but I think Danny's going to blow this out of the park, and yeah, indeed he does, 8.2. So Ginger Ninja chopped for a brief period, but the times are now starting to tumble as we get into the second half of qualifying.
Mike Marshmallow's on it as well. He's in the last sector at the moment. He's 3/10 up on his previous lap, so he's going to be kind of looking and hitting on the top 5 there. So let's see what he can do. We'll get a distant tow from the car in front potentially, but not much of one. So here he goes out of the last chicane. Not a great exit. It's going to be an 8.7, so that puts him P5. A few tenths off, actually quite a bit off his team, about half a second off his teammate. So he's looking. Yeah. I'm talking about teammates. I mean, Mike and Danny, good teammates, but there's quite a big gap between the two teammates at the moment out there. So Danny looking like he's got the upper hand, and he's continuing that momentum that he left off on in Monaco. So
Mulder's just spun on the exit of, I think, turn 6. So I just caught him halfway through the slide. I think that's maybe turn 7. So he's clearly backed out of his first lap and gone for it again, and now he's straight lining corners. So we'll head off that. But we'll mention Overkills, who hasn't yet set a time, but is now starting a lap maybe. He's just come through turn 1 and 2, and yeah, indeed he is. So second place in the championship after coming off the back of back-to-back podiums in Spain and Monaco. Yet to put a lap in, and he's going very aggressive, big
very sideways.
Turn 4, but it is an 18.9. I think that's reasonably quick through the first sector, as he's not spun like Mulder did. A bit of oversteer on the exit, so Overkills clearly has a pretty loose rear end on his car based on what we've seen so far this lap, keeping it between the white line through turns number 8 and 9 and heading down towards the hairpin once again. What's his middle sector time? 40.4. That's pretty quick, I think, as he short shifts straight to third on the exit of the hairpin, so trying to minimise the wheel spin, as we've already seen earlier in the lap, as he now gets on the DRS down towards the final chicane. No tow for him, so maybe he'll lose out if a couple of cars have been running close together further up the order. As he chucks the car in fourth gear, avoids the wall of champions, unlike his teammate earlier in the session, and now goes for the straight run to the line and cover the shortest distance. And it is an 8.0, so despite it looking a bit on the limit, well, it clearly was, but it was also very fast, and he's gone fastest by 2 tenths there. So yes, I wasn't quite sure about the sector times. I thought they were good, and indeed they were very good, and he'll have one more run right at the end of the session as the times continue to tumble. But there's still a few people out there yet to set laps. Will remains to be seen
B.R. Hamilton's one of them as well.
What tyres they go on. But the whole top
B.R. Hamilton's not set up. Yeah,
is currently on the softs, with both the Ferrari boys on the mediums, along with Lexi Fair and Mr. Pitcher Munch on the hards. But obviously final runs to come, and that's where it really matters in terms of where you're going to be starting on the grid.
Nathan Aitken's on our lap here. He's come through the last chicanes. Let's see where it puts him. It will be thereabouts, but not the fastest. It's going to be an 8.7, puts him P7 for now. Not a bad lap, but it's 7 tenths off Overkills' smashing lap that he's done there. So I think it's looking like it's Danny versus Overkills here for pole position, but you never know what. Yeah, these two seemingly starting to show that they're the class of the field, but you got people behind as well that could also challenge. Mulder being one of them. I definitely think he's got the pace on his day, so we'll just see how things will plan out. But looking like those two are the favourites for pole position here. They're looking like they've got a bit more pace, a bit more confidence. Overkills definitely has a bit more time to gain with that oversteer moment he had, so I do expect the time potentially get into the late 7s, probably get a 7, I reckon a 7.8 is possible around here for either Overkills or Danny. So and that also includes track evolution as well.
Mike Marshmallow's just come done an out lap and come straight back into the pits, so that's a bit of a weird one.
Jork's on a lap.
Returning to the pits. Let's watch Jork then. Did you see how far I think he's through the middle sector?
He's backed out of this.
Yeah, so Jork done in 12th, the championship leader. Not where he'd want to be, but he's never really gone well. Oh, he's going again, so that was clearly a cool down lap. Never really gone well around this track, although he did have a 5th place in ILR1 a couple of seasons ago around here when we last raced here in a mixed conditions race, so maybe he'll be hoping for some rain in the race. But based on the fact that some people decide to use the mediums early on the session, I suggest that's not actually going to come. And it's going to be a fully dry race with most of the field on the softs as George tapped the
Oh,
wall
he's
on the
hit the
exit of
wall,
turn
yeah.
4. And it's only a 19.3 in the first sector. That's
19.3.
some 4 tenths down on Overkill's rather. So not
Is he
looking like a
back?
great lap. Yeah, he's backed out of it. Short shift into 7th.
Yeah.
So if he does
Yeah.
have another set of tyres, he does have time to come back in the pits and get them on. But it's not looking great for our championship leader here with just over 4 minutes left in the session.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, it's not what he needs, and it puts a lot of pressure on your last lap because one mistake on your last lap and that's it. Your grid position is set. So he's gonna have to come back into the pits, but it'd be a pressure lap. And that's the thing with this is that if it's a pressure lap, you'd end up not taking any many risks. So you end up being a bit more conservative. So really, George's got to nail the next lap that he does, and really just absolutely deliver it. And that's the pressure he's got now. So yeah, not looking good for him. But he wants to just try and get a good lap in at the end when pressure's on you, and when pressure's on you, that's where more mistakes can even be made. But we've got a few guys out there. LCR Hayden's out there, seemingly on a lap
let's give
here,
him
so
some
let's see
screen
where
time.
he can go.
He's the only person on
Yeah,
lap
exactly.
at the moment. I think João Paulo's
So let's
just
see how he's
started on.
getting on.
But
Let's see how he's
Hayden
getting
hasn't
on.
been
So he's coming
here
up.
for the past few weeks, so time to
Yeah.
watch him. But that's not good.
Oh, car's looking a little bit unserious to me. He's not getting the front end as much as he'd like to, so it's not looking completely great. But 41.6 in the middle sector, hairpin now. He's very deep to the hairpin, not keeping the apex the way you'd want, and compromising your exit as a result. So down this straight, hits DRS, and then that's a long wait until the last chicane for the obviously infamous Wall of Champions. Last corner out, breaks it down into 4th gear, turns it in, and runs it. It's alright, not too bad, it's clean, but it's not going to be top times. And what it line is 9.8, puts him 15th. So he's
João Paulo's 4
not
tenths up. That'll put him in the mix.
Let's go to him.
Yeah, not a great lap from Hayden, but he's been away for a few weeks, so probably just getting back into things as João Paulo now heads towards the final chicane. Very clean through there.
See what he can do. Oh, bit over it though.
I think he'll be aiming for top 3 here if he continues it on.
9.9.
No, what went wrong there? He was 3 tenths up. That's a weird
interesting.
one. Maybe he backed out of it. Must have been invalidated.
Maybe backed up. His
only
ERS was. His ERS mode was on. I think
he's
he was
cut that
70%
corner big time
normally.
as well, so I think that's over for him. So unfortunately, it's looking like a
John's
good
on a lap,
lap.
but he's got traffic. John's on a lap, and the Haas is in traffic though, and
So it could benefit him if he stays behind him on the straight, but now he's backed out.
yeah, but he's
2
got even
tenths
more
up from
traffic
the
ahead,
middle.
so not bad. He's got even more traffic ahead, and he might potentially get a little bit of a tow even if things time perfectly. And it's not bad here. He might get a little bit of a tow from Mike, maybe. No, he didn't really get it. So now
Mike
it's the
and
last
Danny
chicane
were
coming
running
up.
very close there. I reckon there's some
Needs to
slipstreaming
nail
going
this.
on. Oh, he's nailed that.
Turns it. He has. That's not bad. Here he comes. Runs it to the line. It's going to be an 8 something, an 8.7. That puts him P6. That's not a bad time for him. That's not too bad. But expect more times to come flooding in. Mike Marshmallow out there at the moment. He's going for it again. Danny M7 out there. He's starting a lap. So
No,
let's go
he
with
backed
Mike.
off on
Let's see.
the back of Mike. I thought they were going to do some slipstreaming.
Let's-
Fletch actually puts it P6. He didn't have a very good race last week in Monaco, but a good qualified lap from him there at 8.5 as Mike's a 10th up through the first sector.
He's looking good so far. He's a good exit for here, and he's going to deliver the exit. Not too bad. Not using all the circuit though. Got a bit of traffic ahead. This might help him depending if they're on a lap through this next chicane. Going a bit deeper than you'd like, but he's okay. John gets out of the way nicely. I've got a sense.
Keep with Mike,
he's into
but
the
Overkills
hairpin.
is 2 tenths up, but keep with
Oh,
Mike
he's
for the time
locked the
being.
front right. He's gone deep, and he's not got the best of exits either. So not great. It's gonna be an improvement of some sort of improvement. Heads down this straight, and then you've got to be patient before hitting that last braking zone into the last chicane. He's nailed this. Down into 4th gear, turns it in, and it looks pretty casual to me. It's not looking good, to be honest. It's not going to be an improvement. But he'll have another lap to go again, so not great for Mike. He'll have one more lap to go for him. Danny M7, is he on it? God, no, he's not going to improve. It's an 8.3, and that's it for him. He won't go on pole position at all. Overkills is looking set for pole. He's backed out of it for himself, so he's not going again.
Oh,
the
no,
Mulder's out of nowhere. 7.981 goes on provisional on pole position for now, but I think that could be the pole lap. We didn't take any notice of him. But there we go. Out of nowhere, LCR Mulder takes pole position for now. Anybody else who can improve behind him? And Smaz, can he respond? And Smaz is 3/10 as well. Last chicane. Here he goes. Hits it nicely, I think. Smashes in the wall. Here comes Smaz and Smaz. Is it enough for pole? It's an 8-0, but it's not actually. It's not going to moving up because it actually was invalidated in the end. So Ansmaz could have got on the front row, but got his lap invalidated. Mike, is he on a lap? He actually is on a lap, I think. So let's keep on board with him. It's a lap on the tyres than you'd like to, and here he comes out of the last chicane. Is it going to be an improvement? That's the question. Across the line, it's an 8.5. Puts in P6, so it does improve his position. But no one else. Jamie, how's he getting on?
Mexi Fair goes 60. Jamie's in the pits. And yeah, that was very exciting at the end. Overkills actually did a 7.7, but he cut the final chicane big time, which invalidated his lap. I was on board with him, so unfortunately him. But yeah, as you said, Mulder popping out of nowhere. Jorks bottled it big time. He was backed out of his last lap, and he's down in 14th, the championship leader. So not gone well for him. But my man of the session there, Ginger Ninja, popping up in P4. He's had a couple of points finishes, I think, this season, but nothing massive, and that's a very good starting position with him there, mixing it in with the big boys and championship contenders of Overkills, Danny, Nathan Aitken and Mulder. Unfortunately, Smashy got disqualified. He said he was in the wall, so I don't know what he's managed to do there. But yeah, a very exciting session. I think everyone did go on the softs in the end, so we'll see what that results in, whether some people go for the 1 and some people go for the 2. Yeah, you can take us through the grid, I guess.
So LCR Mulder is on pole position for the Canadian Grand Prix. The VSR Overkills in 2nd place. Danny M7 in 3rd. Ninja Ninja in 4th. And Nathan Aitken in 5th. Mike Marshmallow in 6th. Ansmaz in 7th. Fletch in 8th. John MH in 9th. And Pelsbury in 10th. 11th for João Paulo. 12th for Pigeon Munch. 13th for Bromston. 14th for Jork. Disappointing for him. Aaron Dazzler in 15th. And then Cypher in 16th. Hayden in 17th. Jamie in 18th. B.R. Hamilton in 19th. And Smasher in last position in the end. So that's your order for the race and your grid order. And I mean, big news today as well. Obviously, Mulder taking pole. I said earlier on in the session, it was between Danny and Danny for pole and what was I going to say? Completely lost my train of thought. Overkills with pole, but I also mentioned potentially that Mulder was there as well, potentially, and he'd be able to be up there too. So you can never write him off. On his day, he is very quick, and today it's his day, and he took it on, put it on pole. So it's a good starting position for him. Jork down in there, down in outside of the points paying positions at the moment. He's got to come back through the field, and that's not great for his championship either. So, and particularly when he's competing against Pelsbury for the Overkills for the championship. So it's not looking good for Jork, but I'm sure he can come back through the field. But it looked a bit scruffy today for him in qualifying. But they're all going to start their formation laps before we start the race. But, I mean, James, what's your predictions at the moment? What would you put your top 3 as we stand at this stage?
I need to see what tyres people are on. A lot of different tyres outside the top 10. Jork going for the hards, but it's hard to look past the top 3 on the grid. Mulder will probably pick up a lot of penalties. That's something I've noticed about him in the past. So I'm going to go with Overkills, Danny and Nathan Aitken for my top 3. Also, Aaron Dazzler said he did an 8.6 on mediums, which would have been a very good lap, but he invalidated it because he was trying to watch the football at the same time. Derby County currently 1-0 up against Cardiff. But yeah, I think it'll be Overkills, Danny and Nathan Aitken. It's a bit overcast, but no rain for the time being. We don't know if that will come later. But what about you? What's your prediction?
I'm going to go with Mulder wins. I think he'll still win it even if he gets penalties. I think there's going to be plenty of penalties down the field, and I think pretty much the majority of drivers will probably get a penalty. So Mulder's going to take the win. I'm going to go with Nathan Aitken 2nd, Danny 3rd. That's my top 3 in the end. But they're coming now around the last chicane. Start the last chicane, and we're going to put it on the grid. It's going to be a cracker. My feeling is there's not going to be rain because people outside the top 10 are starting on the hards and the mediums. That tells me that they're going for a different strategy. If it were to rain, I'd probably assume that everybody in the field will start on the soft tyre. So I don't think it's going to rain. It is cloudy, but I'm sure it will probably stay cloudy for the whole race. But they are all lining up now. And here we go, round 7 of the season, and it looks set to be an absolute thriller. We could have another different winner here because Mulder starts on pole, and it is looking good for him if he can keep it clean and get away nicely into turn 1. This is where it is all very important. The last car's coming up to get into grid positions, and we should be able to get going very shortly.
Yeah, who is that? That's Antspers, who's very far behind on the formation lap, but we should have the lights any moment now.
Here we go. They're all waiting for 5 red lights. Here we go. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 and 4 and 5. And it's lights out, and away we go. And Mulder gets away pretty nice, but actually, Overkills gets a very good start. He goes into turn 1 in the lead ahead of Mulder. Very good indeed, but he goes deeper into turn 2, which is not ideal, but he blocks Mulder off there. But a good start from Overkills. He leads the way from Mulder in second place. Nathan Aitken makes a very good start into third place. He was down in 5th on the grid, so he's made a good start. But they cut that second chicane pretty nastily. But here comes Mulder. He's looking for a move back on Overkills. He goes for it, but no, he cannot. Who was it? Who was in the wall?
Half the field at the back.
Oh, massive crash as well. It's Nathan Aitken and Mulder are in the wall, both of them out. And it's, oh my God, Overkills now leads the way. Danny's in second, so I don't know what happened there between Mulder and Nathan Aitken, but they both crashed out there together. That was very strange to see, but there you go. Overkills leads away from Danny in second place. He's got a big gap now to Danny, a 1.8 second gap, and it's like Monaco all over again. Because in Monaco, it was Overkills versus Danny for the win, and it's here, the gap's 1.8, and the same sort of gap it was before. But look at Ginger Ninja in third. He's right there with Danny M7 in the slipstream. He's sort of
6 places.
That's nuts. What a start to the race. Ginger Ninja, though, looking like he wants to challenge Danny for second place here. He's looking for the move.
It's a Haas very sideways off the final corner. I think it was John MH. Sorry about that. But half the field will be visiting the pits, I think. There's a crash at turn 3 and 4, which has put B.R. Hamilton out of the race. And most of the field got caught up in that. And then I didn't see the Mulder and Nathan Aitken one, so hopefully you caught that one. But yeah, a lot of cars in the pits and a very, very eventful first lap as Rumson's gone in too fast. Yeah, Mulder stayed out, but I can't believe he didn't get any damage. But yeah,
they both went together. I didn't quite catch it because I was looking at something else, but they both span together.
From the race prediction down in 12th and 13th.
Yeah, so there we go. I'm never speaking again. But there we go. It's Overkills is now leading the way by 2.2. He's got that gap out pretty quickly, and he's looking pretty good and all set so far if he can keep it clean. And bear in mind, penalties will play a big part in this race. But one guy that is impressing me right now is Ginger Ninja in third. He's keeping within DRS of Danny for now, and if he stays there with Danny isn't getting away and not kind of. He's not shaking him at all here. So Ginger Ninja is looking to get past Danny if he can stay within DRS on this lap. And I don't bet against him here. It's looking pretty good. The toe is seemingly helping Ginger Ninja around the circuit to stay with him. But there's a bit of gapping going on already, James. Overkills is in the land of his own, 2.5 seconds up front. We've got Danny and now John's gone.
I don't know where that is.
John's gone. Sector 1. He's crashed out somewhere in Sector 1. Yeah, those are the ones.
Is it on the exit? It must be on the exit of turn 1. I can't see his car. That's a very weird place to crash. Yeah, Palzeri's dropped 2 places after his brilliant start. He was almost dropped to 3rd place. João Paulo tried to go around the outside of the final chicane, but had to bail out of it. But also, smashed F1, getting disqualified from qualifying. A blessing in disguise. Up 11 places to 9th here on lap number 3. As Mulder's still staying out there, but I'm sure he has damaged front wing. He's now only 1 place off the points. But yeah, it's all a bit of a mess as Danny has now started to drop Ginger Ninja. He didn't quite manage to stay within the DRS as Palzeri is starting to regain that lost ground. Back up into 5th, although he does go a bit deep into the final chicane. But you get DRS for both straights, so he'll be pretty safe. But yeah,
here comes João Paulo though. Watch him for a minute. No, he's okay. He's too far back. He's okay. But they're looking pretty close together there. But yeah, you were mentioning that was, I mean, good job that Danny dropped the DRS on Ginger Ninja to get out of that. But that was very important for him because he was looking pretty vulnerable to being overtaken. As now João Paulo is looking to try and get past Fletch as soon as he can. He's looking for it, but he's too far back. These three. Oh, they drove on the braking. João Paulo loses the rear end on the braking, but he's got a good run on Fletch here. DRS activated for both of them, so not a great opportunity in this next corner. It's not a popular overtaking opportunity. He'll look faint to the inside, but he won't go for it. He needs a good run through here, and you know what? He's got a little bit of oversteer there. He looked good initially, but oversteers out on the exit, so he's going to have to wait patiently for the next DRS zone, which he might have a good opportunity if he can try and cut back in, as Pelsbury goes a little bit deeper but cuts back in. So this is the opportunity that João Paulo needs if he can get it. Has he got DRS on Fletch, and has Fletch got DRS on Pelsbury?
Fletch
I don't think he has.
DRS.
So here comes João Paulo. He's going to be in the tow and slipstreaming, but he's too far back for now. He needs to get a good exit through the last chicane if he can. And you know what? He's got not a bad exit here. Fletch has gone a bit deeper than he'd like to. And here comes João Paulo. Goes to the right-hand side. We'll try and go around the outside if possible into turn one. Can he go around the outside? He'll try it. And you know what? That's a good move. He goes a little bit more deeper into turn one. And he gets the move done around the outside of Fletch. So good move by João Paulo. Looking the far more confident driver out of the two of them. And he's got into 6th place. Good move.
Yeah, João Paulo took a few races to find his feet here in F2, but he had a reasonable race last week. Could have picked up maybe a few more points than he did, and he's looking good here in 6th already as Antmas is in the pits again. Bromson also came in and retired. Meanwhile, Jamie and Hayden are having a fantastic battle for what is now 14th and 15th outside the points. But yeah, as Nathan Aitken becomes the first driver to pick up a penalty, as I'm now on board with Smasher, who's all over the back of Mr. Pigeon Munch, coming in towards the hairpin. He'll be looking to move up yet another place under DRS. He gets the car turned in nicely, maybe just a bit too far back, 4 tenths. But again, just like João Paulo did, his teammate on the last lap, get close into the final chicane and then have a look into someone. As people don't already, Mike Marshmallow and Pelsbury in at the end of lap number 5.
Very early. But then again, that's soft tyres though, isn't it? The soft tyres are starting to go away at the moment.
Is that a 2-stop then? What tyres have they gone on to? Pigeon Munch is on the hards, but that's what he started on. They've all gone on to the mediums. That must be a 2-stop. Yeah. So that might be why Mulder stayed out with his damage, as Ginger Ninja picks up a penalty. If the pit windows was so close, he thought it's not worth pitting lap 1. Let's come in. Let's brave it out for 4 or 5 laps and then get on the mediums. But yeah, everyone putting on the mediums. That looks like a 2-stop.
Here comes to interrupt you. Here comes Smasher on Pigeon Munch. That's a done deal into that DRS zone. So that was interesting. But Pigeon Munch will try and get the cut back on him if possible, and he'll look to try and get the move back done into the next DRS zone. And he's close enough to get a good exit through the through the hairpin here. If he can get the better run, he'll try it. He's got a good opportunity. He's close enough to get a good run on Splasher, so you never know. Here he comes. He's in the tow of already, and he had the DRS. Let's see what he can do. He gets to DRS. He's going to be close enough to make a move surely into the last chicane if he wants it. But no, he's too far back to make a move. But there you go. Danny's in the pit lane, as you said, so he's on the medium, so he's going for that 2-stop strategy too. So looking like the 2-stop is favoured. That's a very interesting strategy move from Danny there. It's looking like he was running second. The gap was coming to overkills. He's probably seen this as a maybe just an opportunity to try and see if he can do another route to try and get the victory.
Was Pelsbury just coming again? Did he come in last?
I think he has, man. Yeah, I thought he did. Yeah, he did.
He damaged the wing on the outlap. He must have, or he had it damaged earlier in the race, and he forgot to request it to be changed. Danny's come out in 6th. Meanwhile, Pelsbury's race is basically ruined now with the extra stop. He's at the back. He's just got past Cypher there, so he's just got past him, so that's how he's got into 6th. He was 7th initially. He's done well there to make quick work of the guy who's a pit stop behind him. But we could see Smash F1, as Overkill's now pits as well, who started 20th, leading the race within the first 10 laps if everyone else cooperates and pits. Ginger Ninja pits. Is João Paulo also going to pit? Yes, he is. So Smash F1 is going to lead the race from 20th on the grid at the end of lap 7, although Overcuz is going to be pretty close behind him as he now comes out the pits. That is incredible.
It's tight.
he's gone in too deep, and Smasher just about takes the lead, up 19 places in 7 laps.
Overkills is going for the inside though, is he? Yes, he is.
Not for very long, but it was fantastic for the 2 seconds that it lasted. Smasher's realised that wasn't his fight, and he's just going to follow Overkills around. But yeah, as there's a yellow flag in sector 3, I think that might be Hayden. Yeah, he looks like he's got damage on the front wing there. So unfortunately, but yeah, Overkills has 2 cars between himself and Danny, and what is upwards of a 5-second gap. So Overkill's looking very good once again, just like he did last week. But it's a 35-lap race. Lots of things could happen. And as we saw last week, Overkill's getting damage when what seemed to be a comfortable lead for him evaporated, and Danny was able to take the win. But the walls aren't quite as close this week as they were last week, so apart from the Wall of Champions, he should be okay. But you never know. I don't want to commentate the cursing as Ginger Ninja now also moves past Mexi Fair, who's also running long as he.
Oh! Yeah, I just caught that. He lost the rear out of the smallest chat. Yeah, he lost the rear out there. He's gone. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Is he braving it on the soft still? Because if he is, I'm not surprised he's had that spin. With presumably pretty ropey tyres.
He's on the soft.
As he's now going to let Mike through. Yeah, and as it comes into the pits as well. And Seafair has a long way back to the pits. So he'll be joining Pelzeri, his teammate, and Jork at the back. As Mr. Pigeon Munch is now back on the back of Smasher.
Yeah.
After
the hard
Smasher got
tyres.
past him. Yeah, maybe the medium's
right,
starting to wear already on lap 9 as Dazzler retires from the session.
I think so.
Down to 15 runners here already. Dazzler's off to watch the football.
Think so. Maybe,
as Cardiff have equalised, meanwhile. Nathan 8 can also pass this Seafair, who's crawling his way back to the pits. Yeah, as you said, back to Pigeon Munch. He's on the prowl with what appears to be maybe the best tyres at the moment, the 9-lap-old hards.
He's playing it quite conservative though. I think he's definitely looking at the moment the fastest of the 2 drivers, and Smasher's done a cracking job though. Think about the race that he's had. He started down in 20th, and you mentioned this earlier on. He's kept his nose clean, and that's what's been important in this. He's kept his nose clean, and he's paying off so far, and he's going to be on for some good points here today. I think he's going to be right there with a good bundle of points for Alfa Romeo. But Pigeon Munch as well, driven a good race in the hard tyre. He's got Danny behind him now, so I'm wondering if it's wise not to fight Danny here. It's probably not worth it. So here comes Danny in the slipstream and the DRS. And you know what? Yeah. Pigeon Munch isn't going to fight this. He's going to let him go, have the inside. Danny gets into 3rd place. He needs to continue making his progress because he's getting caught up in this traffic a little bit, and Overkills is continuing to extend that advantage. There's now a 5.2 second gap between himself and Danny. So the gap's good, and at the moment, Overkills is taking control of this race. But as you briefly mentioned, Monaco last week happened, and yes, the barriers were close around there, but when he had a 14-second gap at one point, completely it went away. So it's definitely not over yet. We're 10 laps in, with 25 more laps to go. There's plenty of life left in this Grand Prix, and we could see a lot more will happen. There's more to come and more drama to happen as things starting to brighten up here in Canada. It's starting to get a little bit of sun instead of the really bad cloud that we had earlier.
This is a second penalty for Nathan Aiken, who's now back in the points despite being involved in the big crash on that one, which just shows how many drivers were involved in that. A lot of them have now retired from the race for various reasons. But what you need to also consider is these positions of 2nd and 4th to Smasher and Pigeon Munch consecutively are net positions, because they must be on the 1-stop. Smasher will do medium to hard, and Pigeon Munch will do hard to medium, as Danny makes light work of the Alfa Romeo, who also doesn't bother to fight him. So, whereas everyone else is on the 2-stop. So these guys all have to stop once more. So we've got Smasher, Pigeon Munch, and Ginger Ninja battling out for the final stop on the place on the podium. I love it.
It's great strategy, and you see how the different, we mentioned this in qualifying, but the different strategies have been played out here, and it's superb because we're seeing people who are sort of midfield runners at the moment. They're right there in the top 5, and they're doing a superb job, kept their nose clean, they're running their own race, they're not getting involved in any smashes, cuts, he's getting there. But they're running their own race and just keeping it clean and just doing what they need to do, and that's what they've done. They've played it smart, and they're seeking the rewards at the moment. So fair play to them. They can continue on. They've got a hard race because they've got to go really long on the hard tyre, but I think everything's possible here for them. They've definitely got a good shot at getting some very good points today.
Meanwhile, Pelzeri in the battle for 11th, just out of the points, has the DRS and makes light work of the Renault of Jamie to move up into 11th. And yeah, I think Smasher just misjudged the braking point with the DRS, a bit like Bottas did in the real-life Italian Grand Prix last weekend when behind Leclerc, and that's why he's missed his chicane and he's been punished for it with a 3-second penalty.
Look at Ninja now on Pigeon Munch.
Yeah,
that's another one to watch.
The fresher medium tyres. Pigeon Munch doesn't have DRS from Smasher Head.
He's
gone deep into the hairpin. He'll get a decent.
But he's gonna be careful. Yeah, exactly. He's just got to be careful. Yeah, it's done deal. So here comes DRS on the left-hand side. It's pretty much done there. There we go. He's got the move done. And there you go. Ginger Ninja has got into 4th place, and again running a superb race as well, doing a good job. He was up there in the beginning, and he's doing another very handy job. He's going to be 3rd place in a minute, so on a spot on the podium for Ginger Ninja soon, if he keeps his progress up.
Yeah, what's playing into Pigeon Munch's advantage though is he doesn't have a penalty, and both Ginger Ninja and Smasher, as we saw a couple of laps ago, do have penalties. So as it stands, obviously 22 laps to go, Pigeon Munch doesn't actually need to beat them on track to get the positions, but everything can change. You can pick up 1 penalty and that quickly becomes 2 out of frustration. So you just need to keep it clean, and as I alluded to before the race, you won't necessarily have to beat your rivals on track to beat them on the official results when all the penalties are applied at the end of the race.
Yeah, so here comes Ninja now. He's kept it cautious with Smasher. He didn't go for it on that first DRS only he had, and Mulder gets a penalty. But he gets a good run out the the hairpin here. So here comes Ginger Ninja. This is for 3rd place, and that's done the DRS even before the DRS was even activated. It was pretty much done there. So there we go. Again, Smasher lets him go, doesn't fight it. He's got his own race to run. But Ginger Ninja in 3rd place and got past very nicely. So top 3 basically as they were before. Nathan Aitken down in 8th behind João Paulo, and he's looking pretty close. He brushes the wall of champions, and he got very close there. You don't want to be doing that too often, because that can really cause some major damage. And now Danny gets a 3-second time penalty, and Overkills gets a 3-second time penalty. So those two are now equal on penalties together. So no real gain or loss for any of them. But they've got to be careful with that. But Nathan Aitken gets
that's his 3rd penalty, I think. He's going to be struggling to get points if he picks up any more, although Mulder in 10th has 2 penalties and Pelzeri's quite far behind, so
he's on really old mediums as well. He's on the
Smasher picks up a 2nd penalty there. That's
obviously Nathan Aitken pitted early with damage, and he's on 12-lap old mediums, so at the moment he's not going to get anywhere near João Paulo. He's hitting the walls constantly, so he's trying to struggle on those mediums. But yeah, he's taking unnecessary risks really. But he's definitely going to be on the hard tyre for the end of the race.
The pit window
still possible.
The medium to half must be pretty soon. We're approaching half distance. I'd imagine Smasher will come in. Oh, well, now he comes in as I speak. And Nathan Aitken will probably come in as well, because he's sort of following the same strategy as with anyone else who pitted on that one for a set of mediums. But just a bit of an update on the first lap crash. Ansmaz has suggested that he might have caused it. He said he had no rear grip, and then Brumson said he had issues with his wheel, so that's why he retired. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be a stewards inquiry into at least one, if not both, of the lap 1 crashes as Smasher comes out in 9th. Pelzeri's in once again. Surely he's going to be putting on the hards to go to the end, and actually he retires. So
he was having a good race as well, wasn't he? He gained 6 positions on the start, and then
he got damaged after his first pit stop, had to come in again, and that was game over. But Jork, just the championship leader, although not for much longer as it stands, driving around at the back and hoping 4 more people retire so he can pick up a points. Yeah, Nathan Aitken stayed out, but I imagine he's done 13 laps on those tyres. He'll be in soon. Mr. Pigeon Munch will probably be in 5 or so laps, and I don't know when the 2 stoppers will pit again, probably reasonably soon as well. But Mike Marshmallow has now also caught up to the back of Mr. Pigeon Munch. This is also net position. Nathan Aitken pits, because both these two have 1 stop to make. I'd imagine they'll both be on the mediums at the end, so It will be all to play for. Neither of them have penalties as far as I'm aware, so this is a full-on battle position, but Pigeon Munch is really struggling on those hards now. Mike is all over the back of him. And unlike last week when Mike was the cork in the bottle and people couldn't get past him, this week people most certainly can. There's big DRS straight as Jamie's backwards at the chicane. And
Here comes Mike on the inside, done and dusted. And that gets him into fourth. So nice stuff from Mike. And Mercedes are getting good points today, aren't they? 18 points for Danny, 12 for Mike so far. So looking very good for Mercedes today in terms of points. And Alfa Romeo as well, 6th and 8th today. Still points for them, looking very likely. So good stuff by them as well. Pigeon Munch so far being the driver of the day.
Is catching Danny. It was 3 seconds a few laps ago.
Has Danny got some damage? Maybe. Or maybe
he's not
tires.
falling back that much from overkills. So I don't know. But we'll have to keep an eye on that because both Ginger Ninja and Danny have 1 penalty. So if Ginger Ninja does catch up, as he is continuing to close, so maybe Danny does have damage. Can we get an outboard broadcast shot? His wing looks okay, so I'm not sure. He's definitely losing
It's not
pace.
looking too bad. Yeah, he's
Ninja
definitely
is rapid at the moment and closing him down at quite a quick rate of knots. And Jamie and Hayden have dropped the back of the field after whatever they did at the last chicane. I think Hayden might have tried to go in the pits, and whereas Jamie's braked at the normal point to go around the corner, and Hayden's punted him and spun him across the corner. I didn't see it, but that would be my guess at what happened. To Smasher now has 2 cars right behind him in the battle for what is 7th, but Smasher doesn't need to make a pit stop again, whereas Mulder and Fletch both do. So the battle between Fletch and Mulder is probably what we should be focusing on, as the Toro Rosso is very close to the Ferraris, taking a very wide line into the hairpin to try and get a good exit. It's been... Oh yeah,
he's Fletch's. Look at that.
Fletch is not even using his ERS, he's sitting in 0 ERS, he's just let the Toro Rosso through there. That's a very weird tactic, as Ginger Ninja almost has the back gap under a second as Fletch now comes into the pits. If he's going to put on another set of mediums, that would be a stretch. I think it'll have to be the hards, if I'm honest with you.
Here you go.
We'll see.
Very good though, isn't it, for Ginger
Those
Ninja?
are the hards, and he had
the pace.
Fletch had damage as well, so that might have been why he just gave up the position. He puts on the hards, and he's released. But yeah, back to the battle for second, which is hotting up very nicely.
Yeah, I do think maybe, has Danny made a mistake somewhere and hit off some end plate? That's what I'm thinking here. I think maybe it might not be the most damage you can get, but it must be something to do, or maybe it is just lack of pace on those mediums at this point. I mean, they've done 11 laps, they're a bit older than Overkills and Ginger Ninjas, but even then it's only a lap older, so it shouldn't contribute to a lack of pace. Something's definitely happened there with Danny, and I'm wondering what that is.
The gap to Overkills is Nathan giving himself his 4th penalty. The gap to Overkills isn't changing that much. I just think Ginger Ninja's turned it up a notch, and the gap's now 1.1. Ginger Ninja putting in a fantastic performance here in the Haas. And remember, he was originally placed in Tier 3, I believe, and I think he got moved up. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think he was in Tier 3 for the first couple of races, but he's been moved up to Tier 2, has a couple of okay performances, but he's really turning on the pace today and threatening the 2 big guns who we think will be fighting for the championship, especially with Jork, who's having a shocker, not entirely his own fault, but he's down in 12th, as Ginger Ninja has not quite managed to get the gap under a second, but I'm sure he'll have DRS next time around, as João Paulo's now caught up to the back of Pigeon Munch in the battle for
and so
5th place.
Mulder.
Yeah, Mulder on the back of Smasher
as well. Which he's on really old mediums as well, so I don't know how he's done that. Smasher seemingly struggling on those hard at this point, but I'm sure he'll get faster and faster on those hard tyres as the mediums start wearing themselves out. But yeah, João Paulo, talking about him, he's probably our best battle to watch with Pigeon Munch. Pigeon Munch surely is going to be thinking about pitting anytime soon. He's got to do it. He doesn't. Oh, and also, I can see end plate damage in João Paulo's car. Now that's probably a glitch, to be honest. I don't think he has end plate damage, but for some reason my TV camera is showing end plate damage.
Mine is as well. It doesn't look noticeably understeery, but it looks like quite a major damage rather. Not minor. it's very noticeable. But he's getting the car turned
He's
in
turning
as
in
Nathan
fine.
Aitken picks up a 5th penalty. He could be facing disqualification if he's not careful.
Oh,
Is Gianpaolo going to give it a dive? Not quite, but I think we should
Very
switch away
close.
from this because Ginger Ninja is 2 tenths behind Danny. As there's a yellow
Oh, he's
instead.
looking
So
close into the braking zone hairpin. That's a great move, a very ballsy move, but Danny will try and get the better run on the outside. You know what? He's got the better run. He kind of cuts back in front of the Haas driver, but Haas driver will get DRS as Danny sweeps to the right-hand side. It's wheel to wheel together down this straight into the braking zone, into the last chicane. Who's going to back out? Is it Danny? No, none of them back out. They're wheel to wheel, and it nearly ends in the crash as they both somehow avoid getting into the wall. But Ginger Ninja lifts off the gas, almost let him back through, and that's fair play by the Haas driver, but they're losing time to do the kills in front. And also it gains Mike, as Mike's in the pit lane for his second stop of the day, so he's going for the mediums and the hard tire. Actually, I guess it'd be the medium tire again, won't it? For
another 50 lap. Is Pigeon munching as well? No, Pigeon Match does another lap. Nathan Aitken's retired from the session before he got disqualified, so that takes the number of cars down to 13 out of the 20 starters. Gianpaolo also in the pit. Did he change the wing? I'm not sure. Well, he now has a full wing on my screen. Oh no, he doesn't. I think he's still missing the left side. No, he has a full wing
telemetry
now.
Up and see. So Danny is using a lot of his ERS to defend. He's down to 34% as, look at this again from Ginger Ninja. It looks to the inside, but Danny defends very late indeed into the braking zone. And look at this, the Haas will try and cut back on the Mercedes driver, but couldn't get it done. But Danny is looking very vulnerable here because look at how well managed the Haas driver has managed his ERS. He's down to 80%. He's using all that energy down this straight. Danny will let him have the inside once again. It's wheel to wheel into the last chicane. And they actually go into the pit lane together. And it's Ninja in the pits ahead of Danny. Fair play, but good racing feature, fair play, and very good respect from Ginger Ninja. He made a mistake by kind of forcing Danny off into the wall nearly. No damage caused, but he let him back through, and that was very
Ginger Ninja
well
just stays ahead as Pigeon Munch also pits. Where will Pigeon Munch come out in comparison to Smasher? They were pretty close before the pit stops, but Smasher's had a 6-lap undercut and he's well clear. And we'll have to see where he comes out. Obviously he'll be on the hard, so I doubt he'll be able... No, he's miles behind. As Overkills picks up his second penalty, but the gap's still 5 seconds.
It's 5 seconds, yeah.
He must have changed the wing because it was up at 8 seconds, and then they went side by side and lost a lot of time. So Overkills must have picked up damage again this week, but because he's so far ahead, we didn't really notice it. But he does have 6 seconds of penalties, but he does also have the race all under control at the moment. But this battle for second is really hotting up once again, as now it's Danny who's chasing. Will Ginger Ninja have the same pace he did on the first set of mediums? Because if he does, I see him just pulling away from the Mercedes driver and maybe even posing a challenge to Overkills. Because at the moment, Overkills has 2 penalties, Ginger Ninja only has 1. So if Ginger Ninja can get within 3 seconds, Danny on the DRS now. Let's focus on the present.
Danny.
Ginger Ninja's moving a bit on the straight, but parks his car in the middle of the track for the braking zone, and Danny can't do anything. But he gets a second bite of the cherry here down the pit straight. Ginger Ninja committing to the defensive line early, side by side into turn 1. Danny's overcooked it.
It breaks too late. He needs to try and get him back position. He does. He's okay. No, he's okay. I mean, that was okay just about because he did that so he didn't get a penalty. It was just fair play. Because if he stayed in front, I guarantee he probably would have got a pen by the game because it does that. Yeah, it was a bit. I'd say it was on the edge on the rejoin, definitely, but they didn't make contact, so we're good. But again, Overkill stretches out to 7.5.
Shout out to Chalk, who's done 20 laps on the mediums, by the way.
That's crazy.
No idea why you do that, but he's up into the point.
He's trying his best for a point.
Pits,
he's trying his best here.
He'll need to pit at some point. And with Danny closing on the back of Ginger Ninja, Mike's also closing on the back of Smasher. But there's no way Jordan can go to the end. And Seafair was ahead of him before he just pit. So
yeah, I think Jork can pit, put on a set of mediums and go for 10th place. Get a point on the board. I think that's possible, definitely. Because he's got a good gap to James.
As he's parked it on the apex of the final chicane, Mike passes Smasher. Meanwhile, and yeah, Danny did that move very well. Got ahead into the braking zone and just parked it on the chicane, so Ginger Ninja couldn't get a better exit. And this is a battle that we could see for the entirety of the last stint if it continues. Shout out to Mike once again, putting in another good drive this week after a 5th place, which kind of disappointed him a bit because he could have had 3rd last week in Monaco. But he's in 4th at the moment, doesn't have a penalty, looking pretty good for that position. And if Ginger Ninja and Danny continue battling, maybe he can get a move on and chase after those guys as well. This battle shows no sign of stopping. That was so close to running into the back of him. He must have just misjudged his braking point, and he's done well to avoid punting him, but he has dropped back a little bit. But he's still within DRS, and yeah, both our reactions there. That was very, very close to being, well, the battle over, and potentially Ginger Ninja's race over, and Danny may have had a spin as well if he'd been hit at that angle. But yeah, Overkills now has the gap up to 9 seconds. The win is out of the question for either of these two. It's just battling for 2nd place now, I feel.
Definitely, yeah. Ginger Ninja's back on him again, so every time he did lose, he's back on it. But yeah, that was very close, too close to comfort. I think Danny would have seen the proximity arrow and probably would have shot himself. That's what I would have done anyway. Yeah, that was too close. But these two, they're going to continue battling. The gap is under half a second again, sort of under half a second. So here comes Ginger Ninja. He's going to try and line himself up again. But this is not the best overtaking point. We've seen a few overtakes today into this next braking zone in the DRS. But again, he's too far back, so he's not going to get the move done.
He'll probably be cautious this lap as well. But still much later on the break than Danny. But yeah, he turned the ERS down about halfway down the straight.
It's a confidence thing. I think Ginger Ninja's just got a bit of a rhythm going here, and Danny's struggling just a little bit maybe, just not as comfortable as Ginger Ninja again goes deeper into the brakes, into that hairpin. They're trying to get some better exit and open up the steering a bit more, as now Danny weaves very aggressively to the right hand side, trying to avoid, or left hand side, trying to avoid that slipstream. But that's not really worked. That he didn't really need to do that because in the end, Ginger Ninja's too far back, but the last chicane now needs to try and get a good exit here, and he's got a mediocre run to be fair, and he's not going to have a good opportunity into turn 1. So for now, Danny's doing everything he needs to do, but he's again not. His ERS is lower than Ginger Ninja. He's used a lot more of it defending, and Ginger Ninja's stuck it kind of a bit more in the lower modes, and he's in the 86% mode. So Ginger Ninja, sense to me, it gives me that sense, that vibe that he's just conserving it for now. He'll wait for the best opportunity to attack, and then he'll be able to use that ERS to try and get away if possible. But that's the problem. He'll start using the ERS to get away, and then Danny will stay with him. And then the same cycle will occur again, as Danny will be able to stay in the slipstream of the Haas. So he can do that all he likes, but he needs to make it count. And then when he makes it count, he needs to get away as soon as he can, away from Danny. Otherwise, he'll be under attack, and maybe a counter attack by the Mercedes boy. But again, into the hairpin, he's a good run. He gets lots of oversteer on the exit, and that's not a great run. So he's going to have to stay behind Danny a bit more longer. He'll have the slipstream with the DRS. This might still be an opportunity into the braking zone, but no, it's too far back. He's not going to get it done. The last chicane, though, needs a good exit. And you know, it brakes so much later than the Mercedes. He is.
So he's got a penalty now. So.
But he's gonna still go for it. I'm sure he will go for it into the inside of the tunnel. Oh, Danny defends so late in the end. That could have ended up in tears again. These two are taking a lot of liberties. Too much for me, because it's getting to the point where it could end up in a serious accident. Danny does not need to be flirting like this. It's either Danny defends far too late, or it's Ginger Ninja who breaks too late and they end up in the wall together. So these two need to calm it, because if they continue like this, they'll knock each other out of this race and out of the podium positions. And for now, Danny's been on a good run recently, and he doesn't need to be messing around like this. He needs to keep his nose clean, and with another penalty for Ginger Ninja, he just needs to keep within 3 seconds. As Ginger Ninja, look again, is close to in the hairpin, but won't make it. Still, he'll wait for this next DRS zone to get the best opportunity. He's in the slipstream, and the toe is a good opportunity. It's the best opportunity he has so far on these tyres. So here he comes, slipstream, DRS, everything he's got now. Using the ERS, he's got a bit more than Danny. And he's closing into the braking zone, but again, he backs off. He's a conservative into this last chicane, but he cuts that first part. And there's another warning, I would assume another warning for the Haas driver, because that's a very big cut. And I'd be very surprised if the game did not see that as a warning. But again, closes up into the first 2 corners, but they're too far back. Needs a good run for the next DRS zone, but again, that one isn't the best of opportunities. But if he gets a good exit, it could make it work. But again, he chases after Danny, needs to keep the pressure on, and Danny's got everything to play for here. Behind, Mike isn't really catching up, so these two continue to battle. and they can let they're allowed to really to an extent because Mike isn't really closing up that much. I mean, it was down to sort of 6 seconds, and now it's back to 6.3.
Well, but you need to consider Ginger Ninja has 6 seconds of penalties and Mike has none, so that's actually only a gap of half a second. So Ginger Ninja will probably be aware of that and want to get a move on. So it may be worth him just sitting behind Danny and securing the podium and not battling, because if they don't battle, I'm sure that gap to Mike will go up. Danny hasn't picked up any additional warnings since his first penalty, so he's not looking in danger of getting another one. So I think he's got second place pretty safe at the moment. Overkill's picked up a third penalty, but he's well clear of these two at the moment. Meanwhile, Pigeon Munch has got a bit of a train behind him, Mulder and João Paulo, but both of those, all of those three are catching Smasher, who just picked up a penalty because he's on the hard tyres. So
Mulder around the outside, he's gonna go for it.
Tight.
He's done it. Oh, it's nearly done. And now the runner will get the outside line, get a better exit. And you know what? He's got that, but it's Mulder on the inside for the next chicane, and that is a done deal. Mulder into 6th place, and now João Paulo will try and. No, he's not. He's too far back. Pigeon Munch will try again on the counter-attack on Mulder. He'll try and get a good run out of this DRS zone, and he's got a bit of overstiff, and that's not a great exit at all. And that allows João Paulo to catch up back again, and he'll be right there with Pigeon Munch into the next DRS zone. I'm sure about that. We'll keep with these guys. I don't think Ninja will go again on Danny. Let's go back to them actually briefly. Let's see. Yeah. Here comes Ginger Ninja. He's closing and closing, but he almost pops it down to the lower engine mode before the last chicane to try and just not put it too much into the braking zone. He's managing it a little bit here, so I think he's doing what you said, James.
What I've realised, it's like no point going for second. Just get the podium, 15 points in the bank. That's massive for him. But Pigeon Munch shouldn't be too worried because Mulder has at least 3 penalties. João Paulo has at least 2. Pigeon Munch has none as it stands, so he's looking in very good position to take 5th because Smasher has at least 3 as well, as Hayden picked up a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Meanwhile, Jork in 11th. You said he could put on the mediums. He's actually put on the softs as he's trying to close down Mexi Fair for the final point here. But Mulder is now within DRS of Smasher, but Ginger Ninja all over the back of Danny. He is faster, and the gap to Mike is starting to increase again, so maybe he'll try it once more. But with only 5 laps to go after this one, it's very unlikely that he'll be able to pull a 3-second gap, even if he can get ahead. I'm not entirely sure what to watch. I think we'll watch Ginger Ninja and see if he can get past Danny with the DRS. He does appear to be going for it this time. He's got the ERS up into overtake mode. Danny goes defensive pretty early this time, but he won't be able to go around the outside here. Danny pops on the apex. Ginger Ninja does well not to run into the back of him, and Danny's done that very cleverly. I think that's the word. Because he's compromised Ginger Ninja's line big time, and he won't be able to have a go into turn 1. As we'll now jump back to Mulder, who's all over the back of the Alfa Romeo. Smasher does a similar thing to Danny, blocks off Mulder's line, and Pigeon Munch is too far back, so Smasher will hold on, but João Paulo is going to have a run on Pigeon Munch as Mulder has a look but can't go for it. João Paulo around the outside of the Renault, and Pigeon Munch is relegated to 8th, but due to penalties he's kept it clean, so he shouldn't be too worried about the 3 cars in front of him for the moment.
Let's get back with Mulder and Smasher. These two are close together again, so Mulder, when you get a good exit through the next part, and this has been a good recovery drive for Mulder, I think. If he can get ahead of Smasher, he'll try and extend the gap as much as he can. Bear in mind, as you mentioned, the penalties that he has. Here he comes. He's got a good run here. He goes to the left-hand side, but is it an opportunity? Realistically, no, it's not. Special Breeze is a lot more deep onto the brakes, but John Mulder will try and get the cutback. He gets a really good cutback there, and he's got the move done on Smasher. The Smasher will have the inside for the hairpin. He'll put it back out and went for the DRS.
I think they were lifting for DRS.
That's clever games. That's clever games. But you know what? Not a great exit because João Paulo has got a better exit on Smasher than Smasher has on Mulder. So here comes João Paulo. Can he get a DRS on Smasher? He does. Here comes. It didn't work out, did it? And here comes João Paulo. He's closing on his own teammate. It's good points for Alfa Romeo. They don't want to spoil this, do they, really? But Smasher gets a really bad exit, and this is a good chance for João Paulo. They get past his own teammate. You know what? No, it's not, because he's not really catching in the DRS and the slipstream, so he sits behind a bit more. This is a big old battle, 4 of them together.
Oh, we'll have good traction off here.
And 8th. Oh, he goes on the inside.
That's game over. Mike will have him, unfortunately. Smasher F1 picks up a 4th penalty, but before Ginger Ninja had picked up that third penalty, I had a theory. I reckon Danny was trying to back him up, so Mike got in the 6-second window. And I'll ask Danny about that on the podium, because I reckon he'll be there. But yeah, unfortunately for Ginger Ninja, he's fought valiantly, but it's not going to be enough as João Paulo's having a look all over his teammate. As Mulder lost it big time on the exit of that chicane up ahead as will João Paulo go
Here he comes. No, he won't. He'll wait for the DRS again. But look how close Pigeon Munch is as well. This is a cracking battle for 6th place here. So here comes João Paulo in this extreme smasher. He's towing him down the straight. He's looking good here. This is his best chance. If he wants to get done, he's not closing a lot, but it's got to be it around the outside. The Alfa Romeo boys continue the battle around the outside, and you know what? It's a great move by João Paulo round the outside of the hairpin. And here comes chicane, and here comes Pigeon Munch and Smasher. It's a better exit for Pigeon Munch's comparison. But he's too far back for now. His Smasher goes really deep into turn 1. And it compromises turn 2, but again, it kind of blocked part. You know what? It's good. It's a good exit by Pigeon Munch there. On the inside for the next chicane, and there we go. He's into 7th place, and within a couple of moments, it's Smasher from 6th to 8th, and he's lost 2 positions fairly quickly. But he'll try and try and fight back on Pigeon Munch here, try and get in that slipstream, and that. But it's not a great opportunity again because he's not that close to him. So for now, he'll stick behind the Renault driver, but.
Mulder picks up another penalty.
Here comes. That's questionable by Smasher. He kind of cut that second part. He'll look to the inside, but he's too far back. He'll try and get a DRS on Pigeon Munch here. Pigeon Munch looks close enough potentially. No, he's 1.1 out of João Paulo, so he's not going to get it. And Smasher's not had a great exit there either. So that's the end of that battle, I feel. We'll go back to Ginger Ninja and Danny because, well, this is still, you know, Ginger Ninja wants to get this, you know, he's not going to be on the podium, but he still wants to battle in today, and that's why we go racing. So he'll try and still battle Danny, even if it's for no reason. I'm sure he'll put on a good show for us as commentators. But this has been a very good race, James. Plenty of battles throughout the field, and again, a cracker from everybody. Overkill's has been a land of his own from 4th, turn 1.
What has Hayden just done to get a 5-second penalty for corner cutting? I reckon.
He's straight line, doesn't he? Somewhere.
Okay. We'll ignore Hayden, but yeah, I thought it was going to be a bit of a dull one, especially after half the field got taken out on lap 1. But it definitely hasn't disappointed. Although Overkill's had it in the bag, there'll be plenty of battles, and I think, as we mentioned at the start of the stream, the alternate strategy has had or alternate strategies have had a big impact on that, which have allowed drivers to be battling other drivers who are on different strategies, and we've seen how that's played out here at the end of the race. It does look like the 2-stop was the way to go, but Mr. Pigeon Munch should pick up P5 when penalties come into it, so he's made the 1-stop work nicely. Meanwhile, Fletch decided to pit for some reason to put on a set of softs. Which means he'll probably lose out to Jork on penalties, which he wouldn't have done otherwise because he's like 20 seconds ahead. As Ginger Ninja picks up a 4th penalty here. Luckily, Mulder and João Paulo have about 7 million penalties as well, so he's going to be 4th regardless unless he gets disqualified, which is unlikely given it's now actually the final lap, which I hadn't even realised.
Yeah, so here comes Overkills now, rounding out the final time through the hairpin. It's been a very good drive, and his redemption from Monaco, you know, he was leading that race, he made the error, got that wing damage, and it allowed Danny to win that race in the end. But he was the outright fastest guy around Monaco and has been superbly quick. And Overkills today proves why he deserves to be a race winner. It's another, here he comes around the last corner, and it's another win. Overkills wins in Canada, and it's a fantastic drive. Dominant from turn 1 to the flag. Great job by Overkills there. Danny M7 holds on for 2nd place, and again, a good, consistent drive from Danny. Didn't have the pace, but has been on a good run recently. Crosses the line for another podium this season, ahead of Ginger Ninja, but it'll be Mike Marshmallow who'll get 3rd place on pens in the end, and that's a great drive by Mike. Again, consistent and just delivering and on all cylinders, and that experience is helping him there. And that's a double podium for Mercedes, and Mercedes looking very good for the Constructors' Championship as João Paulo crosses the line for 6th, but in terms of penalties, Pigeon Munch gets it on penalties for 5th place, Mulder in 6th, João Paulo in 7th, Smasher in 8th, very quick succession, and Fletch looking for that DHL seemingly, so he's on that soft tyre. Can he get the fastest lap of the race? We'll keep on board with Smasher. Let's see how he goes through the last chicane. He's using everything he's got of the engine power. He's down very low on his DRS. He's pushing it really hard. Last chicane now, is it? Okay, you know what?
But he
Forget
might
that.
get it again, but Jork's been very
Nah.
unlucky here because he was only 3.5 seconds behind Seafair, but he got lapped, so he definitely would have picked up probably 2 points because Fletch had a lot of penalties as well. But due to him being lapped and Fletch and Seafair not being lapped, he's missed out there, and keeping it clean hasn't benefited him in the slightest. But yeah, a very entertaining race once again. Overkills becomes the first repeat winner of the season, and I'd imagine he'll take the championship lead. Double Mercedes podium, as you said, they'll be looking good for the Constructors' Championship, especially with Aaron Dassler DNFing in the other Red Bull. And yeah, very entertaining throughout. Who would you say was your driver of the day?
Pigeon Munch. I think he's drove a very good race today, and 5th place. Got the scraps, and he just did what he needs to do. So for me, it's hard between Overkills and Pigeon Munch. Overkills drove superb from turn 1 onwards, and just did his job. But for me, Pigeon Munch did the right strategy, did the alternate strategy, did the one-stop strategy, and he came from 12th to finish 5th. But that is your final positions here. Overkills wins in Canada, ahead of Danny M7 in 2nd place, Mike Marshmallow in 3rd, Ginger Ninja in 4th, and 5th place with Pigeon Munch. 6th for Mulder, recovers from the earlier crash in the race, 7th place for Jao Paulo, 8th for Smasher F1, and 9th in Fletch, and Cypher takes the last point for Williams. Jork in 11th, continuing on for the whole race to try and get anything he could, but unfortunately only 11th for the championship for the old championship leader. Overkills now leads the championship. Jamie in 12th, Hayden in 13th, and Nathan Aitken was out, I think was out in the end. Calzeri out, and Dazzler, Ansmaz, Brumson, John, and Hamilton, they're all DNFers in the race.
Yeah, well, despite not many finishes in comparison to starters, and the big crash on that one, as you mentioned, very entertaining race. I would have gone for Ginger Ninja for my driver of the day. Despite him picking up the penalties later on, I think he put in a valiant effort against Danny, and well, I wanted him to get a podium, but I'll be honest. But 4th place will be some good points for him to take home, regardless. And he's made the most of it today in Canada, and we'll try and get the top 3 in for the interviews. There's one of them. Congrats.
Right, yeah, mate. Good race. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have you invited the other 2, Dom?
I'm just doing it now. Wish they said in the lobby, so I could actually. It's a lot easier, but
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
it's once again Overkills who takes the championship lead. Danny will probably move up to 2nd as well. Jork will stay 3rd. Mulder will be 4th, I reckon. We'll get that all confirmed to you in a bit. But yeah, we now have all of the top 3 in the party. Remember to include your audio, guys. And we'll get started with the podium interviews. And it's Overkills again, taking the win, again on the podium. We're getting a bit bored of speaking to him every race, but it was a pretty dominating drive once again. I'd argue even more so than Spain. How do you go about things? Obviously not starting on pole due to invalidating your last lap. What was your thoughts going into the start, and then after you managed to take the lead on the first lap?
Right from the start, I was sort of a bit clean. You know, you don't want to be getting wing damage on the first lap, falling behind the field, and then that's your race ruined. So that was my initial thought, and then Mulder got a poor start, I think, which put me into the lead straight away, and then I just tried focusing on getting my head down, making sure I can get out of DRS range. Don't know what happened behind with Mulder and Nathan Aitken, I think it was. But I looked behind me, they were both round, and I had quite a big of a gap, so I was just focused then on pulling away and extending that gap, which is what I did. And then second stint, a bit dodgy, coming off the exit, got wing damage. So I was a little bit, I don't know, scared at that point. You know, Danny was closing in slightly, and then they started to battle, which helped me a lot, so I could change my wing, and then pulled away again at the end, and then managed to get the win, even though I had like 12 seconds penalty, something stupid like that.
Yeah. Do you think the collision on lap 1, which basically gave you a free buffer, no worries about cars in DRS, do you think that helped you significantly, or do you reckon you would have had the race under control anyway?
I think it's a little bit of both. If they stayed in DRS, they would have been a lot closer to me throughout the race, and at the end of it, they may have been within 9 or 6 seconds, 12 seconds, whatever. So yeah, I could have lost it if they were on the attack on me rather than the attack on the cars around them. So yeah, I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, congratulations once again, Overkill's race
Cheers.
winner, first repeat winner of the season, and now the new championship leader. So we move on to second place, someone else who we're getting bored of seeing. Overkill's and Danny locking out the top 2 for the last 3 races in a row. It wasn't yours this week, Danny. Overkill's had it covered, but a fantastic battle between you and Ginger Ninja. What was going through your mind? Like, were you desperate to keep him behind, even when you knew he had more penalties than you, or were you just at that point prepared to take the podium, because it looked pretty competitive at some points, a couple of close moments with the wall?
I was just focused on keeping P2, just damage limitation, but trying to reduce the damage to Overkills in the end. But yeah, it was a good battle. Really enjoyed it. Wasn't expecting to be fighting for, no disrespect to Ginger Ninja, because he had phenomenal pace. I wasn't expecting to be fighting for P2. I was hoping to keep up with Overkills a little bit cautious at the start of the race, especially with trying not to cut the corners, and maybe I was a little bit too cautious, but I've got to be happy with P2. Could be worse. I just felt as though coming into this race I had a lot of expectation to fight for the win, and I don't know if I sped up a little bit at the end, and maybe because I was getting pressure from behind, because the gap just about maintained between myself and Overkills once we stopped battling. So too little, too late the pace, but yeah, it is what it is. We go again next week and try again. But well done Overkills. He was just tipping too quick today, and it's also nice to have Mike on the podium after he bottled it last week. So.
What was your thoughts on lap 1? Because I think the Mulder/Aitken collision was that right in front of you. How did you go about avoiding that, or did it just end up off the line? Because I don't think we quite caught it on the stream.
I don't know how clear it was on the stream, but it looked just unfortunate for both drivers. I think Mulder lost a bit of the back end, and just Nathan got caught up, and I was about to dart to the right, and then just in a split second I just backed off a little bit, and that opened the door for P2. But we know how powerful the DRS and the slipstream is in this game, and I was about 2 and a bit seconds behind Overkills at that point. It was extremely hard to keep up with him. He's just so quick, and it was just about avoided it. But that was me into P2, which I've got to be thankful for P2, because Nathan and Mulder could have been a lot quicker than me today. So yeah, I got a little bit lucky there, but enjoyed the battle at least.
Final question. I had a theory during the stream. When Ginger Ninja picked up the second penalty and Mike was just about 6 seconds behind, were you trying to back him up a little bit so Mike got in the penalty window, or was that not something you discussed?
You're too clever, Maestro. It wasn't the intention of braking it like in the middle of a corner to slow him up. It was, if we were going to battle, I was going to make it extremely awkward to try and back Ninja up towards Mike, for Mike to get the podium. But I was never prepared to brake in the middle of a corner, if you see what I mean. So the plan was to battle hard for him to lose time, but never to compromise his race. And I don't know if you've seen, he actually hit the back and beat before we went under the bridge in sector 2. That wasn't a brake check either. He was just braking very late. I don't know how he managed to brake so late all race. I just had a lot of fun just here. So, but yeah, that was the plan, and it just about worked out. I think Ninja got another penalty in the end anyway, didn't he? So.
Yeah, you had 4 in the end. Congrats once again on your result, and we'll move on to Mike, who had a bit of a quiet race, but managed to pick up his second podium this season regardless. kept it clean, kept it Maestro approved. Talk us through your race.
Yeah, my qualifying was a bit subpar. I mean, I could have been up there, with Danny and that lot off the line, but
Thanks, mate.
I messed up my lap. So I started a bit further down, and I did 2 laps on my set of softs because I invalidated my first lap, so I'd saved the fuel, and I just got over the line in time. So I was very lucky to get that second lap time in. Otherwise, I would have started 10th, and that would have been, my race would have been highly compromised. But yeah, I managed to stay out of the thing that happened with Mulder and Nathan, and Pelsbury got past because I was very cautious. But then I got him back on the next lap anyway. It was quite easy to pass because you're very slow in the straight line. But yeah, from then it was basically keep the gap to the guys behind, get no warnings, and near the end of the race I noticed that he had 6 seconds of penalties in front, and I just wanted to stay within that window without getting any more penalties, which was harder than it looks because it's so easy just to turn in or wash wide a little bit and then you've got a warning, and I was on 2 warnings, so but yeah, he got 12 seconds anyway. So once I knew he had 9 and then 12 seconds, I just kind of brought it home, didn't make any risks.
Yeah. Final question on the Constructors' Championship, double podium this week, looking good for the Mercedes boys. Is that obviously Danny will have aspirations of the Drivers' Championship, but are you there to try and help bring home the Constructors' Championship as well?
100%.
I think that's a wrap. Congrats once again, guys, and Dom, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, well done to everybody on the podium. Obviously, Overkills couldn't say well done to him, but if he watches the stream back, well done to Overkills and obviously you two as well. Great double podium for Mercedes, and it's looking very good for the constructors for you guys. You're doing a solid job at the moment, so keep it up. But yeah, James, that was another cracker, and I'm starting to get on a bit of a roll, so hopefully it can continue going into the next race. I think it's France next, isn't it?
Yes.
France. Yeah,
France is before
France.
Austria.
Yeah, so another race next week, next Friday, same time, same place. We'll be back for more racing in the next race in France. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll see you next week.